Down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say I'm so free.
There's something different about the way Katt Williams speaks. It's not gossip. It's not a joke. It's a man who sounds like he's lived too close to the fire and made it out with the burns to prove it. When he says he turned down $50 million just to keep his integrity, that's not a punchline. That's a warning. Because in Hollywood, turning down money that big doesn't just make you brave, it makes you dangerous. He's hinting at something deeper, something the public's not supposed to understand. Protecting my integrity, he says, like integrity itself is a currency that only a few can still afford. And when he says PD be wanting to party, he's not talking about balloons and champagne. He's talking about a culture, one built on access, favors, and silence. The kind of parties where saying no doesn't just close doors. It paints a target on your back. So when Katt says he's got receipts, people listen. Because every time he opens his mouth, someone powerful gets uncomfortable. And this time, he's aiming straight at the untouchables, Snoop Dogg and Diddy. But before we get to that, you have to understand. Katt doesn't speak unless he's ready for the fallout. And this time, he came with evidence. He's not accusing, he's confirming. And Hollywood just got a chill down its spine.
I'm not poking anything. I'm asking y'all reaction to seeing him on Club Shay Shay talking with Shannon Sharp.
Ain't nobody say, you know, the thing about it is, man, that at the end of the day, it's all entertainment. We all brothers in this game. It's all.
This is where Katt draws the line in the sand. He's not flexing, he's testifying. When he says, you can't buy me, you can't invite me, that's not arrogance, that's resistance. Because in Hollywood, not showing up to the right party is an act of rebellion. He's been in the same rooms as the kings and the gatekeepers, watched the smiles, the champagne, the fake blessings. But what he saw behind the laughter changed how he moved forever. And the most dangerous part? He's saying it out loud. He's confirming that the rumors about what really happens after the lights go off aren't just rumors. When he says, I've seen who they do it with, you can almost hear the weight in his tone. That's not just about sin, that's about leverage. Secrets are the true currency of Hollywood, and Katt's been sitting on a vault. This isn't a man ranting, it's a man remembering, and the people he's remembering, they're not random. They're the ones who built the empire he's now pulling the curtain back on. Because in this story, there are no saints, only survivors.
And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it.
That line right there, broken famous. That's the kind of pain only a few entertainers ever live through. Because when the spotlight fades and the calls stop coming in, that's when the truth starts to reveal itself. Katt's saying he's already faced the industry's worst punishment, being blackballed. No invitations, no endorsements, just silence. And yet, he's still standing. That's why money doesn't move him. Because he's seen what happens when you trade your integrity for comfort. He's seen men who looked powerful on stage, but powerless in private. The ones who bowed down to keep the checks flowing, who let the machine turn them into mascots for the system they swore they'd fight. In that moment, Katt is doing something few dare to do, calling out the illusion. He's reminding everyone watching that fame isn't freedom, it's a leash, and the tighter it glitters, the harder it chokes. And when he says, you find out who's who when the lights cut off, what he really means is this. When the cameras stop rolling, that's when you see the demons come out to play.
Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. He's been covered and protected by not only Clive Davis, but Lucien Grange. He was selected to be the demon that he is, to keep the culture in line so the industry could continue to rape it for all of its precious jewels.
How dangerous do you think he is as a person?
I think he's one of the most dangerous people.
That wasn't just a quote, that was a declaration. When Katt said that, he was cutting himself off from the kind of Hollywood pipeline that keeps most stars alive. He knew exactly what it would cost him to say no in an industry built on obedience. Every insider knows. The system rewards silence, not truth. You play along, they feed you. You resist, they erase you. And Katt, he's been erased before. Comedy tours canceled, shows pulled, interviews twisted into tabloid headlines. But there's something hauntingly powerful about his defiance, because when he talks about being broke with peace, he's not bragging, he's confessing. He's saying he's made peace with being an outsider. He's chosen a clean conscience over dirty comfort. In an era where everyone wants to be accepted by the circle, Katt's willing to walk away from it entirely. He's not chasing the industry's approval anymore. He's exposing its rules, and that's what makes his message dangerous. Because if more artists start thinking like that, the entire foundation of Hollywood control begins to crack. So when he says he'd rather sleep broke than wake up haunted, you realize, this isn't just comedy anymore, it's rebellion.
Katt Williams said it. The lawsuit started coming out right after he said it, and he said all would be exposed. He heavily implied, and this is again an allegation, that Lucien Grange was having some sort of a relationship with Diddy. So he is the person that controls Diddy, that Lucien Grange was aware of these parties, that Universal Music Group was aware of these parties, essentially that Diddy is the thug and the gangster working on behalf of Lucien.
That line cut deep because it peeled back one of the biggest secrets in entertainment, the illusion of individuality. Katt wasn't just talking about outfits or interviews. He was talking about conditioning. Every celebrity who makes it past a certain level starts to blend together. Same narratives, same sponsors, same sanitized personalities. It's not creativity anymore, it's choreography. And Katt's calling it exactly what it is: compliance disguised as culture. Behind the glitz, there's a quiet understanding. If you want to keep your spot, you play nice. You laugh at the right jokes, you show up to the right parties, and you never ever question the structure. That's why Katt's words sting so much, because he's describing a system most artists deny exists. He's saying the sameness isn't accidental, it's deliberate, a design meant to keep people predictable, easy to control, and afraid to stand alone. And when he says, that's not coincidence, that's compliance, it's almost like he's daring the audience to look closer, to notice how the brightest stars start losing their edges once the contracts hit the table. Because in Hollywood, the moment you stop being yourself, that's when they finally start loving you.
Scarface.
Ice Cube.
Damn. That's a hard one.
Ice Cube is my OG. Scarface is my peer.
Illmatic or Ready to Die?
Biggie Small, Ready to Die?
Yeah.
I love it when they call me Big Pop. Was that on there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Biggie.
Corrupt or Method Man?
Damn.
Take a shot?
I'm gonna take a shot on that one.
DJ Quick or Daz?
But I gotta go with DJ Quick. I know Dad's gonna be mad at me, but so what?
Eazy-E or Suge Knight?
Damn. Give me a shot.
I love that. Be a too. I can't choose neither. Tupac or Nipsey? You take a shot.
Take another shot.
Dr. Dre or Puff Daddy?
Dr. Dre. You know this Puffy show, y'all gonna cut.
That statement right there, that's not gossip, that's a coded warning. Because when Katt says, look at who they're not allowed to talk about, he's pointing straight at the shadow players, the power brokers behind the scenes who decide what gets aired, who gets praised, and who disappears. You see, in every generation of the industry, there's always a few untouchable names. You mention them, even indirectly, and suddenly, doors start closing. Opportunities dry up, stories get buried, and that silence? That's not respect, that's fear. Katt's been in those rooms. He's seen what happens when someone refuses to play the puppet. The smiles fade, the alliances vanish, and the same people who once called you genius start pretending they don't know your name. When he says legends to puppets, he's not exaggerating. He's talking about artists who traded their freedom for favor, men who used to move the culture, now moving only when the culture tells them to. And the chilling part? You can't always see the strings, but the patterns never lie. Watch who can speak freely, and who avoids certain names like a curse. That's how you know who's really in charge. Because in Hollywood, silence is currency, and some people are paid too well to ever speak again.
A particular current status of a case, either as a witness or as a subject or anything at this point?
No, I weighed all that I wasn't going to be a witness, and I didn't want to have nothing to do with the case.
And this is as far as a grand jury, or just in terms of...
I was summoned twice to the grand jury. I was summoned just the other day, and my attorney sent me a letter to waive that I wasn't coming, that I didn't want to be involved, that I didn't want to be a witness.
Is this a federal or state? It's federal grand jury?
Federal,
right?
federal.
And did you at any time take the fifth or ask for immunity, or?
No, I went before one, I think, They had me for the 29th. I was too far out to be there, so I came that Thursday. And when that was the last day I was there, that's when they took my.
That's the kind of line that makes publicists panic, because when someone like Katt starts talking about gratitude as a weapon, he's exposing the quiet psychological trap that keeps so many entertainers obedient. See, the industry doesn't just buy your time, it buys your humility. They tell you, be thankful to be here, so you start believing you owe them something for existing in their space. And once that mindset sets in, you stop questioning, you start obeying. But Katt's never been built for obedience. He's the kind of man who treats every stage like a pulpit, and every joke like a sermon the system doesn't want heard. When he says, I'm not here to be grateful, what he really means is he's done being manageable. They can't manipulate a man who's not chasing access. They can't silence someone who's already accepted exile. And that's why Hollywood fears truth-tellers more than critics, because a critic just comments, but a truth-teller breaks the illusion. Katt knows once you strip away the glamour, the entertainment industry looks less like a dream factory and more like a quiet, expensive prison, one where gratitude becomes your handcuffs. And when he says, that's what they can't control, you can feel it. That's not defiance for show. That's a warning. Because real freedom in that world doesn't come from fame. It comes from not needing their approval anymore.
Known about Kim's book, or what was supposed to be her book, this entire time. The truth is, Diddy was highly paranoid right before Kim passed away. And when he found out that her and Cassie were still secretly talking and meeting, it became a very explosive situation for everyone who knew about it. Pieces of that memoir have been acquired by the home team, and that bad actors were incorporated so that they could put just enough spin to create reasonable doubt in the jury pool. It's a smart play, but not with Kim's word.
Town Records, they were all writing tell-all books. Andre was writing a book right before he. Heavy D was working on a book before he. Kim Porter was working on a book before she died. And Albie Shore was working on the documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma. Has Puffy ever been in a coma? Has anything happened to him?
That's one of those lines that sounds poetic until you realize how real it is. Katt isn't talking about trophies, he's talking about distractions. Hollywood's been using awards like sedatives for decades, a shiny way to keep people quiet. You give someone a golden statue, they stop asking about the system that made it, you hand them applause, and they forget about ownership. It's not recognition, it's containment, and that's what Katt's calling out. He's seen artists get standing ovations one night and breakdowns the next. He's watched the industry hand out praise instead of protection, because that's the formula. As long as you smile for the cameras, they'll let your pain stay off screen. And when he says they'll give you awards before they give you power, it's because power can't be televised. Power means control over your art, your image, your story. And that's the one thing the machine never gives willingly. Katt's basically saying, they'll celebrate you for your performance, but punish you for your independence. It's a trade millions of fans never see, the exchange of truth for trophies. And in this world, the ones who refuse that deal, they don't get award shows, they get silence. So when Katt stands there and says that line with a smirk, you realize he's not bitter, he's awake.
And all of a sudden, they rush to do the coroner come in and say, yo, she had pneumonia, she died of pneumonia, but nobody did no autopsy or nothing like that. Get out of here. Have her funeral, put her in a gold casket. It takes, 2 months to get those gold caskets, had it within a week? Oh, you're a millionaire, I guess you can. You're a multi-millionaire, you can get it.
That's not paranoia, that's a pattern. Anyone who's ever worked in that system knows exactly what Katt's talking about. The first no gets you side-eyed. The second no gets you blacklisted. And by the third, you're gone, quietly erased, like you were never part of the story. It's a control cycle dressed as professionalism. They call it protecting reputations, but it's really about punishing defiance. You step out of line, you start asking questions, suddenly the phone stops ringing. The media starts painting you as erratic, hard to work with, or losing it. And Katt, he's lived that in real time. He's been called every name in the book, not because he lied, but because he stopped cooperating, because he refused to play the grateful performer role. This is the unspoken law of Hollywood. Once you stop being useful to the machine, you become a liability to it. And the easiest way to destroy a truth teller is to convince the world they've lost their mind. Katt knows this. That's why every time they try to discredit him, he doubles down, laughs in their face, and keeps saying the very things they told him not to. Because the moment a man loses everything, his fame, his allies, his safety net, he becomes dangerous. He's got nothing left to protect but the truth. And in Hollywood, that's the kind of man they fear most.
No, on. Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always had. So if we got the opportunity to take these two brands and show people what it can be as opposed to what it used to.
That right there, that's the pivot point. The moment where Katt stops defending himself and starts putting the system on trial. Because he's not just speaking for himself anymore, he's speaking for everyone who vanished after telling the truth. He's talking about a pattern that repeats with precision. First, they build you up. Then, they isolate you. And once the narrative flips, the audience never even notices the manipulation. Because the machine knows how to control the story and the silence. When Katt says, "They told me I was the problem," he's pointing out the oldest trick in power, gaslighting. Make the truth teller feel crazy, make the public doubt him, and the system gets to keep running clean in the background. But the cracks are showing. You can't keep labeling every outspoken artist unstable forever. Not when their stories line up, not when the receipts start matching. Katt's not the first to call it out. He's just the loudest one still standing, and that's what scares the establishment. Because when he says, maybe the system's broken, he's forcing people to ask the one question that Hollywood fears most. What if the real madness isn't in the man, but in the machine itself? And once you start seeing it that way, you can't unsee it.
A week before we was best of friends. 2 days before all think he liked me because we was in New York and went and did an interview and was asked, how do I feel about Puffy and Biggie? And I was like, I like them. I want to do some music with them. And I just rubbed Cuz the wrong way, like, them tried to kill me. You talking about you want to do a song with him? I wasn't thinking about his emotion. I was thinking about the way I felt at the time. I wasn't into no controversy. I liked the music. They was our friends. We was all friends at one point. This video footage of all of us hanging out. Pac, Biggie, Puff, Suge, all of us together. Prior to Death Row, I never seen myself getting involved. Even when he played the video for me to Hit 'Em Up. Even when he played Hit 'Em Up, the song, I didn't like the song.
Did you feel like it was
I didn't
too
like
much?
it. I didn't like it. Like, it wasn't like the shit to me. Like, it was buying more problems, cuz. Gangsters is everywhere. They make them everywhere. And I think when he got with us, he got to the mind state that we the mother and ain't nobody like us. Always people.
My man Snoop was saying, y'all, there ain't no East Coast, West Coast beef.
I swear. We ain't coming to talk about nothing behind us. We come to talk about what's ahead of us.
Yeah.
We here to make a difference, you know what I'm saying? So we want y'all to stay in school and keep y'all heads in y'all books.
No doubt. Knowledge is power, y'all.
But you know, we're the future, so it's on us to make a change.
That's great. Look, I'd like to thank Snoop and Puff for stopping by and dropping this knowledge on you all. All right, now, any questions?
Yeah, so Mr. Hightower, who you gonna let sample your songs?
Yeah, Steve. I talked to my man Shook. He's gonna charge us half of what you was trying to charge us.
Sugarfoot don't know who he messing with up in here. I bust Sugarfoot dead in his head, and Della Reese ain't gonna be there to pull me up off little bitty Sugarfoot.
Now, Steve, have you learned your lesson? That ain't the way to handle problems, baby.
Now, Steve, you're a role model, right? Check yourself, homie.
That's one of those lines that lands like a punchline, but bleeds truth. Because behind that slick delivery is a man who's been betrayed enough times to build a philosophy around it. See, when people like Katt talk about burning bridges, they're not talking about ego. They're talking about boundaries. Hollywood loves loyalty until it's turned against them. And once you stop giving unearned access, suddenly you're difficult, ungrateful, or dangerous. But what Katt's really saying here is this. He's done letting fake allies use him as a stepping stone, the ones who come with smiles but carry poison in their pockets, the ones who shake your hand on camera and whisper against you off-screen. He's not burning bridges, he's disinfecting them. It's a quiet kind of self-preservation, one that every artist eventually learns too late. Because in this business, survival isn't about who you know, it's about who you finally stop trusting. Katt's been through that trial by betrayal. Friends turned foes, promises turned threats, and now he's choosing peace over proximity. He's not isolating himself out of paranoia, he's protecting his purpose. So when he says, "I just stopped letting snakes cross," it's not anger talking, it's awareness. Because once you see the venom for what it is, you stop confusing access with loyalty. And in this world, that realization might cost you your career, but it'll save your soul.
I got 2 security with me that fly on a private plane where this Suge got his homies, Pac got his security. We get to the private plane, and Suge like, they can't go.
Your security.
They can't go. Security like, all right, well, come on with us, dog. I'm like, nah. I'm gonna stay there. I'm riding with them. Like, this either the moment you gonna me, but we gonna get some clarity in this air. We got a 5.5-hour flight. I ain't got no security. You niggas ain't feeling me right now. So I sit down, and I'm like, they still don't say nothing to me. Now we finna take off. I'm like, all right, I see what's finna happen. I've been around these, I know how they get out. I grab me a knife and a fork, get my blanket, 5.5 hours like this. Sit in the back of the plane, all the way in the back. I'm the last seat. So if somebody gonna get killed, if I'm gonna get killed, somebody.
I'm pretty sure Suge knows who's yeah. Well, I mean, so when he comes out of sedation, I'm sure anybody who gets will tell you who got them, right? Yeah. But if the police say nobody shot him, I believe nobody shot him. And if nobody shot him, that's the same nobody that shot Tupac. And if nobody shot Tupac, it's the same nobody that shot MLK. And if nobody, and that's the same person that shot Malcolm X too. It's a lot of nobodies out there, and nobody minds if nobody comes up missing, right? That don't bother nobody, does it?
That's the closing declaration, the full reveal of Katt's mindset. He's standing outside the system, refusing to participate in its rituals, its fake alliances, and its quiet manipulations. Because he knows the price of truth is high, but silence costs even more. He's showing us a blueprint Hollywood doesn't want anyone to see, how power moves in shadows, how loyalty is currency, and how freedom is the rarest asset of all. Every name he's hinted at, every arrangement he's alluded to, it's not gossip. It's insight from someone who's survived the machine and still speaks. And when he says, if that shakes the whole industry, good, he's making it clear. The system can't dictate his voice anymore. The lesson is simple but terrifying. Fame is glamorous, but it's rarely free. Those who bend survive. Those who break thrive, if they dare. And that's why Katt Williams commands attention, because he's proof that speaking the truth doesn't just expose the powerful, it awakens the audience to see the game for what it really is. So, what do you think? Was Katt just spilling Hollywood secrets, or is he revealing a system most of us will never fully understand? You could feel the tension in the room shift the moment Katt dropped those words. It wasn't just another rant or a punchy soundbite for social media. This was a calculated unveiling, a slow pullback of the curtain on a world that thrives on illusions. And the way he delivered it, calm, deliberate, almost conversational, made it sting harder. There's a reason Hollywood legends rarely speak this openly, because the moment you do, everything you thought was untouchable suddenly looks fragile. He began sketching the invisible threads connecting the big names we all recognize, the ones whose faces are everywhere, but whose hands shape the industry behind the cameras. Katt didn't need to name every player. He only had to hint at the alliances, the unspoken agreements, the quiet negotiations, and suddenly the audience started to piece it together themselves. That's the genius of his approach. Letting listeners connect the dots forces them to become investigators in real time. What's striking is how he tied this hidden world directly to survival. He painted a scene of constant calculation, where every handshake, every contract, every casual meeting had a potential consequence. One wrong word, one poorly timed joke, and you're no longer in. The stakes weren't just money or fame, they were relevance, influence, and sometimes safety. You start to realize that the shiny veneer of Hollywood parties and red carpets is really a maze, and only those who understand the rules, or know when to walk away, thrive. Then he shifted, pulling in examples that felt almost cinematic. You could picture the grandiose parties, the velvet ropes, the flashing cameras, but what you weren't seeing were the decisions happening behind the velvet. Who gets invited? Who doesn't? Who leaves richer than they arrived? Katt framed it like a chessboard, each move subtle but intentional, each alliance built on careful observation and mutual benefit. And for anyone paying attention, the implications were chilling. The system isn't just about talent, it's about knowing the currents and riding them without being swept under. He didn't shy away from the irony either. Katt highlighted how the people who appear untouchable, the ones we call legends, often owe that status to choices and connections the public never sees. That calm demeanor, that ability to glide across genres, mediums, and decades, it's not just charisma or skill, it's strategy. The audience began to understand that Hollywood's most visible stars aren't merely entertainers, they're players in a network that balances power, loyalty, and leverage at every turn. And then came the subtle, almost whispered warnings. He spoke of friends who vanished after questioning the narrative, of insiders who tried to expose truths only to be quietly redirected. You could feel the undercurrent. Speak too loudly or get too curious, and the consequences aren't always public. Katt made it clear that this wasn't conspiracy theory. This was pattern recognition. Anyone familiar with the industry long enough has seen these cycles repeat over and over again. He reflected on his own career with a kind of stoic pride. Katt reminded listeners that independence has a cost, but it also grants freedom, a freedom most artists sacrifice for comfort or approval. He drew the contrast between those who sign invisible contracts just to stay relevant and those who refuse them, walking a narrow line between isolation and authenticity. His tone wasn't bitter, it was observational, almost philosophical. He framed it like a lesson in survival, not just in fame, but in life. Then the story pivoted again, moving into the space where culture, fame, and fear collide. Katt illustrated how every public interaction, every collaborative project, carries an invisible subtext. A smile isn't always goodwill. A handshake isn't always loyalty. Deals happen quietly. Favors are traded silently, and power is maintained without a headline. It's a subtle commentary, almost cinematic in its layering, what you see versus what you don't. And he made the audience feel like they were standing just behind the velvet ropes, catching glimpses of the machinery that shapes everything they thought they knew. The tension deepened as he explored the dynamics between the big players themselves. He suggested that even friendships between legends are never purely personal. They're contracts, whether written or unspoken, with stakes that go far beyond the music or the brand. The implication hung in the air. Loyalty in Hollywood is a currency, and even the closest bonds can be transactional. Listeners began to reassess everything they'd witnessed, from collaborative projects to public appearances, wondering where genuine respect ended and strategic calculation began. Then Katt brought it back to the human element, the people caught in the middle. He discussed rising artists, those who think talent alone is enough, and how they're often blindsided by invisible pressures. It's a warning and a lesson simultaneously. Success is as much about navigation as it is about skill, and that's why he's respected by some and feared by others. Because he doesn't just perform, he observes, interprets, and reveals what most are too scared to articulate. What makes this story magnetic is the layering of exposure, reflection, and implication. Katt's words function on multiple levels, entertaining, revealing, and unsettling. As the narrative unfolded, you could see the audience start to replay past events in their minds, reconstructing relationships, interpreting smiles, and questioning public personas. That tension isn't manufactured. It's earned by years of first-hand experience and fearless commentary. He then explored the larger consequences of this hidden system on culture itself. Fame, he suggested, is a performance, but freedom is scarce. The illusion of choice, of personal agency, masks a complex network of power where the stakes are invisible but enormous. He portrayed Hollywood as a place where visibility and control are often at odds, where the brightest stars shine under a delicate balance of observation and restraint. And the reflection deepened as he connected these insights back to personal accountability. Katt didn't just cast blame. He examined the ways individuals navigate the system, the compromises they make, and the truths they suppress. He forced the audience to grapple with the uncomfortable realization that what looks like success from the outside may carry unseen burdens from within, and that perhaps the stories we hear in tabloids or interviews are only half the picture, carefully curated to protect the unseen power structure. By now, the commentary had evolved into almost a cinematic exposé. Every example, every anecdote, every hint of arrangement or alliance layered tension, intrigue, and insight. The viewer isn't just listening, they're immersed, piecing together a narrative that Hollywood prefers remain invisible. It's the kind of storytelling that doesn't just entertain, it reframes perception. And as the narrative began winding toward its cinematic conclusion, Katt's message crystallized. He highlighted that the real lesson isn't simply about knowing who wields power, it's about understanding the system itself. Because once you recognize the patterns, you can navigate them, question them, or even resist them. He positioned himself as both participant and observer, a rare figure who survived the machinery without being subsumed by it. Finally, he closed with a subtle but powerful reminder. The truths we see are only fragments. The victories are never isolated, and the consequences of silence extend far beyond what's visible. He didn't promise answers. He offered perspective. And in that perspective lies the real intrigue, the realization that Hollywood's story is ongoing, layered, and far more complex than any single headline can capture. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video you see on your screen for even more juicy celebrity chaos, betrayals, and stories Hollywood doesn't want you to know. See you in the next one.